Real Madrid have beaten Chelsea 2-0 in the Champions League quarterfinal first leg. Let's just get straight into this. G, what was your initial reaction to this match?
It was just another easy day at the office. I do have to apologize. I lost my voice currently, but I'm still here. But you know, it was just another dominant performance from Real Madrid. I mean, or were we really surprised? I mean, it was kind of predicted. We were the favorites going into that match for a reason, and Chelsea just they looked out of their depth, and it was a very strong Chelsea lineup they put out there. But I mean, let's be real. It's the reigning defending champions of Europe. I mean, that's what we expected, and Real Madrid did that, and they won very comfortably. I never felt, that in danger of Chelsea were going to score other than the first 3 minutes.
Not quite
Other,
7-0 though.
I mean, it's still going the same place. It all goes in as a win. It was about dominant, but we can't make up for the fact that Chelsea played anti football. I mean, they basically put all people behind the ball because they were just like, please, please don't just score 7-0 on us and end it. But they played horrible. I mean, it was pretty pitiful football, but I mean, it all ended the same way.
Look, I mean, realistically, from a Chelsea fan's perspective, we were all dreaming of going to the Bernabeu in this first leg of the Champions League and somehow getting a result. But realistically, it was never going to happen. That's why I came on here and I said I didn't want to really think about this game. I came on here and I said I was nervous to watch this game because we all knew what Real Madrid was capable of, and we knew how bad Chelsea have been this season. And it's basically what we saw in this first leg. I think Real Madrid were just the better team. I mean, pretty much outside of the first maybe 10, 15 minutes where Chelsea started out strong. After that, Real Madrid pretty much dominated. They put their foot down. They dominated in the midfield, which was, I mean, you would say Chelsea's strength is the defense in the midfield. But I would say Real Madrid, obviously, with their midfield, they were able to outclass us there. And ultimately, that just led to them ultimately dominating this match. Pretty comfortable win for them. Honestly, from a Madrid fan, I feel like you could feel like a little bit unfortunate to only win by two because Real Madrid could have won this by a lot more.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a feeling that you step away with because I mean, realistically, Chelsea pulled out their strongest 11. I mean, when I first saw this 11, I was like, wow, they're really pulling out all the stops. They're playing their best hand. They rested Conte versus the Wolverhampton Wanderers game, and Conte played well. I mean, but it was just that they lack creativeness in the midfield. They couldn't really create many chances. You have Raheem Sterling and you have Joao Felix out on their own kind of islands, and they can make semi chances. But Real Madrid, just everything went right for them. And defense, they made the right tackles when they had to, because there's some chances where if that ball just slipped by Militao or David Alaba, Chelsea are in through on goal. But everything went right for Real Madrid, and that's a bit lucky. I mean, Chelsea were highly unlucky because the bounce of the green just went to Madrid every time. Every 50-50 ball went to Real Madrid. That first half, it was 60% possession to 40. I mean, that's a big margin. We're talking about two top clubs. I mean, that's a big margin of possession difference, and Chelsea couldn't hold the ball without it getting disrupted. I mean, Real Madrid did a great job of pressuring and disrupting, but that's also not what Real Madrid's known for.
Yeah.
I mean, Chelsea, that's what is a big detriment. They made Real Madrid look like, oh, they're high pressing, high pressure team when they're not.
Yeah,
I mean,
Madrid, they don't really do that against anyone
they
else.
don't do that. And the problem is Chelsea don't do that either. So you're playing into the strengths of Real Madrid, sitting back, not pressuring them, because we see the only times Madrid get struggle is when like that high press Barca put on us, to where they're always running, they're always going at our players. But you sit back and you let Vinny set, you let Benzema move how he wants to. That's where trouble gets caused.
And Vinicius obviously winning man of the match. What
I
a
mean,
performance.
Vinny was absolutely ripping people alive, man. I mean, he got 2 assists today. And I mean, Reece James probably still has nightmares. I mean, Reece James doesn't want to play this guy. I mean, no Premier League side wants to play Vinicius Jr. He has too much fun with them. Because I mean, obviously, you know how much I rate Vinny. I think he's the best winger in the world. But I mean, it's just when people are on him, it almost builds into the fact of how much credit you have to give like Araujo and stuff, or like that's the guy he makes look normal, because look what Vinny does to everybody else. I mean, they constantly had Fafana and Reece James trying to stop him, but they really couldn't do anything.
Yeah, Reece James didn't look up to his typical standards today. I would say, maybe it's Vinicius was just that good, but I think Reece James maybe not just in defending but also in attack. I feel like he could have been a little bit better today. But I think it's one of those things. I don't think he's 100% fit. I know I mentioned this before. I still think he has a lingering fitness issue that honestly, if we get eliminated like after the second leg, I think he should just rest for the end of the season and just try to recover, come back next season better. Because quite clearly, I just don't think he's the same player.
I mean, yeah, right before his injuries, pre-World Cup, I mean, there was a point to where he was the one scoring all the goals. It's either Reece James was scoring or assisting a Chelsea goal. I mean, that's how important he was to the side, and he hasn't looked the same. But also, then again, the whole season has been a bit of a mud, and you don't know where the mentality is with the players. I mean, Reece James. I know Lampard's actually the guy who brought Reece James up from the academy and gave him a shot, but it's still where the club is right now. You, as a Chelsea player, I'm sure they're not holding their heads very highly because I mean you're sitting at 11th. You just got fairly beaten at the Bernabeu, and you're 2-0 down going back at home. I mean the the energy is not going to be very high, so I can't completely blame Reece James for like not absolutely scoring and getting a perfect game. I think it's a bit of the system, the same thing that not every player is looking as good as they should because the whole team isn't performing well.
Is this tie over, you think?
I would say yes, but obviously, on paper it looks like Chelsea have a chance. I mean, we had a 3-0 deficit going back home, and they were able to make a game out of it. But I think from just the position Chelsea are at right now, they're not in the same position. We've seen, and you said it, we've seen a digression in Chelsea that they were able to compete with us because we this is the third time we've met in the knockouts in the Champions League, and we've seen a steady decline in Chelsea's ability to keep up with us because yeah they were battered 3-0 at Stamford Bridge, which is not good, but they were able to go to the Bernabeu and go 3-0 up.
It was 3-1, right?
Yeah, it was 3-1. I'm sorry, 3-1. Well, they lost 3-1 at Stamford Bridge, and they're able to go to Madrid and go 3-0 up, and that's something that I don't see this team doing because
Hmm.
it doesn't have that. I mean, you guys were in a better league standing than what you are now. So there's a lot of things that are going wrong. So I
Yeah.
don't think they have that in them to just pull it out, even
Hmm.
though it's going to be at home. And right now, Stamford Bridge isn't the fortress that it normally is. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen lower echelon Premier League teams go there and get results. So I
Hmm.
mean, I think it's over, but obviously, and it's football. Anything can realistically happen. But I think a high probability chance Real Madrid just do what they always do.
Yeah, I mean, at 2-0, it's one of those things like you sit there and you say it's not 100% impossible, but it's looking highly unlikely given how, good Real Madrid looked in this game and how poor Chelsea looked just over the course, not even just in this game, but over the course of the whole season. But I think this performance today, it not only speaks volumes of how Chelsea have been this season, but also it just speaks volumes as to we faced Real Madrid 3 seasons in a row. And obviously they've went through once, we've went through once, and obviously I think Real Madrid are going to go through this time. And over the course of these previous 3 years, we've gotten worse every season. And now it's gotten to the point where Real Madrid, they just dominated us. And I think it just speaks volumes on how poorly Todd Bowley has done running this football club. He's right now he's running this club into the ground. I think you look at it, he made the mistake of getting rid of Thomas Tuchel and getting Graham Potter in, which I mean that's arguably one of the biggest mistakes in football history. And then now we're sitting here in a position as now we've gone from Thomas Tuchel to Frank Lampard in the same season. So I mean, obviously there's that's the reason for the decline, but it's one of those things. Todd Bowley, this next managerial decision that you make is make or break. This is the most important decision that you've had to make yet. It has to be the right one because look, we're not going to win the Champions League this season. Obviously, we're going to go out this right now to Real Madrid. We're not going to have any European football next season. So we have to make the top four if we want to get back in the Champions League, which is where we need to be in order to attract the top talents and to continue to, buy players like we want to buy in order to continue our dominance. Because we've been a relatively dominant football club, but I can see the decline happening under Todd Bowley right now.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Tom Bowley, as soon as he came in, he made himself the director of football, a man that, probably hadn't heard of the sport until he decided to put in a bid. I mean, he's not a footballing man. He doesn't know the sport. I mean, this is a guy that the board had to remind him that you have to make top four to be in Champions League next year. I mean, this is a guy that appointed himself the footballing director, and I'm not, obviously, I think he cares. I think he's thrown a lot of money at it, and that can be seen as, I don't think he purely sees Chelsea as all it's just an investment. It's not like the Glazers or something that kind of are fully detached. Todd Bowley cares. Like he wants to win, but the problem is he's putting all his money in the wrong areas. Like, yeah, spending 600 million, that's a lot, but what did you spend it on? You spend it on a bunch of maybes and a bunch of what ifs instead of, I mentioned this to you before. I mean, realistically, you spend that much money, you can just go all in on a for sure thing or just wait. I mean, now they've put themselves in a position where they have so many players on 8-year deals and you're stuck with them because you can sell them, but you're going to get pennies on the dollar. I mean, he's put the club in debt right off the bat. So, I'm going to spend 600 odd million. And now you're sitting at 11th, and it's going to be hard because obviously you dream of getting players like Declan Rice or Victor Osimhen or these guys. But if you don't have Champions League football, they're going to prefer other clubs like a Manchester United who can provide that. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys want to throw your names in there for like players even like Jude Bellingham, but you go to the table and to talk with them, it's like, Jude wants to play Champions League football. Every player wants to play Champions League football, and that's something you can't offer. That's highly detrimental because, look, I think if you didn't get the Nkunku deal done before it was like this, I don't know if he still comes
Hmm.
because who is willing to just accept that and take it as, I'm going to join a 11th place Chelsea team in the hopes that they can get back to where they were
Hmm.
because they're spending 70 odd million on players like Mudrick for having half a decent season and deciding that we're going to give him a 10-year deal. It's
Hmm.
like it's not good business, and obviously I think eventually they will get it right just because Chelsea's not going to fall off the obscurity. That's not going to happen. But they're going to have to go through that Arsenal pain, possibly, that I've mentioned multiple times on this channel. I think they're going to have to go through something similar Arsenal did, to where it's a slow build back up.
It worries me because I think that Chelsea are potentially 5 signings away from the squad actually being competitive again, and they're going to have to make these signings and try to sign top quality players without Champions League football. And it's not impossible to do, but to sign players at a certain level that we want to sign, it's almost impossible. I mean, it's very rare that you see a player of a certain level go to a club outside of Champions League football. It doesn't really happen. So I worry about the future of the club right now because I mean, we have made some quality signings and some signings that to where okay, this is a piece for the future for sure. But we still need a striker. We still need another midfielder. We still need a top goalkeeper. We still have issues that in the squad that we need to fix, and we're not going to have Champions League football to potentially offer some of these top players. Like for example, you just said Nkunku. If we didn't already get the pre-agreement done with for Nkunku, I don't think he would join right now. I agree, but we already had that one done. But there's
Hmm.
going to be some players who look at us and say, okay, they might be offering a lot of money, but they're not. I don't know about the squad. I don't know about the project. I don't know about
Because
Champions League football.
you also have to think that as a player, I mean, I saw this mentioned on another video that Raheem Sterling by himself has had more managers at his stint at Chelsea than his entire career combined at City. 3 managers in one season. I mean, you can't forget that switching managers like that, having that uncertainty of who's going to be in the dugout, who's making the calls as a player, because they're constantly switching. You're switching to different ideologies of what one guy wants to play to another. And right now it's the Lampard. It was just the Potter, and before Potter it was Tuchel. I mean, those are completely different managers. All three are so different. And to be a player to try and be there for that, I mean, that's not what you want. You want stability. You want to know that, okay, we're going to have this guy's vision. He's in the dugout. We have this, we put whoever you want in there. It could be Nagelsmann. So you get Nagelsmann in there and the players know, okay, it's going to be him. That's the guy we're going to have to listen to. Not that, oh, it's Lampard now, but next season it's somebody else. That's not a
Yeah,
good pitch to a player because it's like, oh, who's going to be the manager? Oh, well, we don't know yet.
but Chelsea in general, they needed a big squad clear out at the end of this season. Like they have to clear out some of this dead weight in the club. And honestly, the only way that I think they're going to be able to make some of these big signings that they want to make is if they also make some departures from the club.
There's a
You know,
lot of play. I mean,
players, some players are going to have to leave because obviously Todd Bowley can't do the 8-year contract FFP thing anymore. So he's going to have to actually sell some players to, reduce the wage bill and things like that in order to make it all work for Chelsea. There's players that have to go. And I'm okay with some of these players going, but at the same time, if they're going to go, you have to have high quality replacements.
yeah, I think the if he wants to make good, you're not going to get your full investment back. The only one that I can see making good money is maybe Kovacic and Reece James. Reece
But I
James.
don't think Reece James would get sold though.
I don't. Yeah, I'm just saying out there, like these are the players that you would get good value for. But like Kai Havertz, you're not gonna get maybe
Return on
even
investment,
half
no.
half of the return of the investment on him. I mean, you might get 50 million from Bayern Munich, maybe. And it's like, maybe you mentioned Kovacic, and it's like he's a very good player, but how much would you really get for Kovacic? He's aging, and
Maybe 30
it's
million,
maybe 30 odd million. And there's Christian Pulisic. What do you do with him?
maybe
And Mason
25
Mount
million.
and
Yeah.
like Gallagher. I know Gallagher's young, and some Chelsea fans really like Gallagher, but it's like, what do you guys want now? Do you want to compete now or play like, oh, he's going to be good eventually?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
Yeah.
like Todd Bowley wants to be good now, but then there's like, what do they want?
Yeah. So obviously for Real Madrid now in this, if we're looking ahead here, for potentially past the second leg here, something you never want to 100% do, of course, but we potentially could be eyeing up a Real Madrid Manchester City semifinal.
Rematch.
What are your initial thoughts about that?
I think it's a favorable matchup. I mean, Real Madrid have coming off what they did to them last season, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near similar to it. But I think it'll be a very tough match. That will be most likely the final in my eyes. That will be what the final. Whoever wins that will win the Champions League. But I fancy Real Madrid's chances in that because they can get at this City team, and this City team's great. It's spectacular. Madrid can be open to counters, but there's something about Real Madrid in this competition, and there's something against Man City in this competition. So, as good as Man City look right now, there always something seems to go wrong. It's like the upside and downside. Madrid always seem to play up in the biggest moments, and Man City always seem to play down. So, I'm still going to pick Real Madrid, but it's going to be very close.
Can Real Madrid stop Holland though?
Yes, they can't stop Haaland.
So I mean that's ultimately
Can
what it comes
can
down
can
to.
City stop Benzema? I think that's the bigger question of that tie.
Really.
Yeah, because Benzema's own England. He said we're good in England. I mean, we're running through English clubs. I mean, we've
Yeah.
ran we've ran through. They haven't stopped us since Chelsea did in 2021.
Yeah. Look,
So
I
that's
mean,
that's up to them.
I don't think anybody wants to play City right now. I think they're playing the best football of the entire season right now. And I understand Real Madrid are coming off of a good performance against Chelsea, a performance in which they could say, okay, we should have honestly maybe taken more from that game. We should have won by 3 or 4 goals. But I look at the City of Real Madrid tie, if it does happen in the semis, like it looks like it is. And I say, I think City will win that. I think City right now are a well-oiled machine. They're looking the better side, honestly. Holland is on another level. De Bruyne is playing unbelievably. And I think that this Real Madrid team, they can be get at. Like Chelsea had a couple chances that if you let Holland get in those positions, he will take them. Yeah, they still have Julian Alvarez. They have Bernardo Silva. They didn't even play Riyad Mahrez yesterday, but we saw what they did to Bayern Munich. That's a high quality side that they dismantled. And honestly, that's why I said I think Man City will win the treble this season. That's what I think they're going to do. They're going to come back and win the Premier League. I think they're going to win the FA Cup. They're going to win the Champions League. They're going to win the treble.
They're gonna win the treble. I don't think that. I don't. I mean, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I think it's going to be a very tough match. I mean, obviously, stopping Erling Haaland is going to be the top of the list, and Real Madrid are not the greatest defensive team ever. But in between the even last season when we played City, it was always very competitive. They're always very close. But I think it's going to come down to City beating themselves because I don't know if they can overcome that mountain. I mean, especially if it has to be against Real Madrid. So that's just what I think. But I
Hmm.
mean, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it comes down to how is this new Pep system going to work against Real Madrid? John Stones in the midfield. Are they going to be able to stop Vinicius? Things like that. That's what it comes down to. But it will be, in my opinion, I agree. that it essentially could decide who wins the Champions League. I think that's how big of a matchup that is. Maybe it should be the final.
I mean, it could be.
Could be.
Oh, in the
But
future, but obviously not this
But
season.
you're gonna have to let us know in the comments down below. What did you think of this Real Madrid Chelsea match? What do you think about Todd Bowley and Chelsea? What do you think about the potential matchup of Man City versus Real Madrid? Let me know in the comments down below. Slap a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel for more football content. But I think without further ado, we can get out of here.
We can get out of here. Yeah, let's go.
I'm Zach,
I'm G.
and we'll see you next time for another video. Peace.